the back and forth concerning this 774,000 jobs. But yes, it has since been suspended as directed. No, let me put it this way. The National Assembly has said this should be suspended. But then, what was all of this about? Yes, you heard the huge part of it, the processes, procedures, the legal perspectives, the political considerations. Well, we'll have two gentlemen to weigh in on this matter. Ohenovo Otemu and Emmanuel Anene are both legal practitioners. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today on the program. Let me start with you, Mr. Otemu. From your understanding of how all of this played out, what do you think?
Well, my own view about the whole thing is that tempers were high, which was totally unnecessary. The outburst was totally unwarranted. And again, you can see this from the perspective of somebody feeling you want to disgrace me before the public, particularly Mr. Festus Keyamo, the minister. You know, at the moment it got to the National Assembly, discussions have started and aspersions has been casted. Statements tending to show that someone is trying to be corrupt had been made. So it was incumbent on him. He saw it as a responsibility to defend himself, to try to explain to the world also, because when those explanations were made, when those accusations were made, all the cameramen were seated, were in the hall. So he felt after making those accusations on his person, he should also respond also before the camera as to his position with the project, that he is not corrupt, he has not hijacked the project. Probably he wanted to explain the position of the law with respect to his powers as the minister before the cameras. But I think the National Assembly members didn't see it that way. They felt, no, at this point, so many things will come to the air, so let's go into a session that will exclude the cameras. So both sides somehow have issues. So for me, it would have been right, to have been proper, to have allowed Mr. Festus Keyamo, the minister, to explain himself also in the presence of the camera. Because, of course, if they go into executive session, cameras will no longer be there. And once cameras are not there, it will not be what you said and what you did not say. Hearsay, so many stories will not be on the air as to his credibility. So he felt he needed to defend his credibility also because the accusations were made against him before the cameras. And that, for me, was the position.
Okay, but Ms. Anana, so having heard that perspective, do you share the same thoughts, or for those who might have misunderstood what transpired on the day, because they're really different perspectives?
Thank you, Chamberlain, and once again, good morning, Nigerians. What transpired on the floor of National Assembly on that very day is pathetic, it's uncalled for. National Assembly has the right to determine their own procedure, and that is provided for in Section 60 of 1999 Constitution as amended. So if you don't go to National Assembly to determine the procedure to be adopted by National Assembly in carrying out their constitutional responsibilities, if you read Section 89 of 1999 Constitution as amended, this section empowered the National Assembly to extract evidence from anybody appearing before it in any way it felt desirable and necessary. These are constitutional provisions. So when National Assembly told Festus Keyamo or made insinuations that they will go into executive section, that is acting within the purview of the power given by the Constitution to the National Assembly members. If from the video clip we watched, there was a woman that asked Festus Keyamo, what is the performance indicators of this project? How do we now measure the success of this project? I don't think that is an accusation. What Festus Keyamo would have done is to go to National Assembly with policy documents, and that would readily answer the question. And let me remind Nigerians that opportunity, that fair hearing means an opportunity to be heard, and not to be heard in a particular way you feel it is necessary. So Festus Keyamo did what we call contempt ex facie. That is contempt before the court. That is what he did. You don't go to court. Even if your case before the court, you feel that the trial judge does not have the jurisdiction to entertain the matter. You don't speak to the trial judge in that way. You conduct yourself in an orderly manner. Even the American Secretary of State for Defense cannot speak to those people in the Capitol Hill in that manner, talking to them as if to say that you are classmates. That is unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It's contempt. And let me remind Nigerians once again, it's not an interactive section. We make mistakes about so many things. We model a lot of things up. It is an investigative hearing, which hearing you will be on oath. If you say anything that turns out to be lie, it is perjury. It's not you discuss, I discuss. An interactive section. And that is why they have reduced our constitution. That is why they have reduced themselves. But I don't blame Festus Keyamo. I blame the National Assembly themselves. For the President of the Senate to say, anything coming from the executive is in the interest of Nigerians. Okay, and Mr. Anene. To it, when a man...
Mr. Just a minute, just a moment.
Was rejected in 8th Assembly.
Mr. Anene, just a moment. We'll get to some of those issues you have raised, but I'd like to take up Mr. Otemo on this, because you mentioned sections 60 and 89 of the Constitution. And, Mr. Otemo, looking at those sections, do you think they are relevant in this case?
Well, Section 80 is not relevant here. Section 89, yes, Section 89 is relevant. Section 88 and 89 is relevant. Now, yes, I agree that the Constitution gives the National Assembly the powers to make their rules that binds their proceedings, no doubt. Section 88 now gave the National Assembly the power to investigate, to inquire into any issue, any activity. And it's I agree with my brother Anene here. It is an investigative power that is given to the National Assembly. Section 89 went further to also explain that they can extract evidence from anyhow they want. I agree. What the mistake in this whole issue was that Mr. Keyamo was invited not to face an investigative hearing, but to come for an interactive hearing, which in the law is not provided for. There's nothing in the law that allows for interactive hearing. However, the National Assembly can invite anybody for interactive hearing, and on the decision of that person, he can appear before them for interaction, which was what they claimed they wanted to do. Now, if it is really investigative hearing, the next thing that should happen is that, how do you conduct investigation in this way? Do you conduct investigation in secret? Now, you have accused somebody. I think he got it somehow wrong. He's referring to the question asked by distinguished Senator Betty. That is not the issue that was going into private hearing. Before Betty raised that question, other persons in the panel, including the ND director, had made some statements which suggest which are accusations against the person of Festus Keyamo, suggesting that he's a corrupt person, that he has hijacked a project, that is not following due process, that is not following the laws. That accusation has been made before the camera. And then Betty now went further to ask questions. After asking questions, you say they should withdraw the camera. He should not respond. He wasn't going into the executive hearing to respond to only Betty's questions. No. Accusations have been made. So you would have allowed him to explain himself also before the camera. If you wanted, an executive hearing, a secret hearing, from the word go, they would have allowed cameras in. Now they allow cameras in the middle of the football match. You want to shift the goalpost and say, no, the camera should leave. No sane Nigeria who knows his what we want to allow that. And then do you even do investigative hearing in secret? I say no, because the person that they are even accusing, which is the first person of Festus Keyamo that they are accusing that is corrupt in this case as a Jack project, is the defendant in this case. He's saying, I want the whole world to see the investigation. That's the person you are accusing that is corrupt. Maybe you that is the investigator is saying, no, we don't want to go open. Let's do it secret. So in that regard, who will you think or feel, who will, in the mind of the reasonable man, who is corrupt in this case? I'm not saying anybody is corrupt in this case. But
okay, let me bring Mr. Nene.
So, he would have been allowed to express himself.
Just hang on. We'll hear you.
Give response to those accusations before the cameraman.
Okay, so Mr. Nene, what he's saying is that the end justifies the means here. And so that could suffice in this case.
You see, Chamberlain, I don't think my learned friend here got everything correct. It was the conduct, the abysmal conduct of Jesus Keyamo, his rudeness that led National Assembly members to call for executive section.
No.
If he had conducted himself very well,
no.
If he had conducted himself in a way and a manner expected of an honorable minister of Federal Republic of Nigeria, they wouldn't have called for executive session. They did not just call for executive session because they are shielding certain facts from the public. That is not correct. It is not correct. What happened was this. The NDE representative said there are steering committees. He only knew about 8 persons. How did Festus Keyamo choose the other person remain to be seen? He has not explained this thing to Nigerians. And believe you me, Section 88 of 1999 Constitution empowered the National Assembly to conduct proceedings in a manner that will expose corruption, wastage, and inefficiency. This 774,000 jobs, is it not a waste? Some people will go to sweep some people go and sweep road and collect 60,000 naira in 3 months. Is it not a waste? It's a waste for Nigerian economy. This money would have been channeled into a proper place that will give Nigerians what we want, like the place of health and education. There is COVID-19. And these people want to spend over 50 billion naira on 3 months' job. And that's why we're talking about it. When they employ people in National Assembly, do they talk about it? When they employ people in FRS, do they talk about it? When they employ people in CPN,
just one moment.
Do they talk about it? When they employ people
just one moment, Mr. Nene. Just one moment. Just one moment. We've gotten to the meat of the matter now. I'd like Mr. Altemo to also, respond to that, because I'm just wondering as well, well, we are talking about the legality or morality of the issue. How about the issue, the subject matter itself? Well, you've heard Mr. Anene, you've heard his own perspective of the real issue, the controversial, the 774,000 jobs that Mr. President promised, which is now a controversy in the National Assembly. So how do you respond to some of the things that Mr. Anene just mentioned?
Yes, the 774,000 persons to be engaged for a period of 3 months and be paid 20,000 naira per month, those people are Nigerians. They are not foreigners. And so whatever money you spend on Nigerians, particularly within this period that we are having serious economic challenges, if you are able to pull out 1,000 persons from each local government to say you are empowering them with that kind of amount, though small, I feel it's small, but to a large extent, it will raise some persons from the level of living that they are to a higher level. They can now, after the project, get 60,000 naira to start little business for themselves. So this is the issue. To say all monies must go into health sector, if somebody does not eat, he will be sick too. And at the end of the day, he's going to the health sector you are talking about. So by way of even also decongesting the health sectors, it's good to put monies in the pockets of people, of your citizens. In America, during the COVID-19, you saw what America did. So much money was given to citizens. Europe, other countries gave money to citizens to help them live, at least let them have something to eat. And in this case, those boys, because those youth, those boys and girls that would have done this project would have used that money to empower themselves to a higher level than the level they were before the project came. So to say that project is not proper, to say that project is not relevant, I totally disagree. As much as health sector is relevant, as much as education is relevant, as much as infrastructure is important, the lives of people, the well-being of the citizen is paramount. It's also
all right,
Mr.
Otemo, let me take this back to let me take this one moment, just one moment. Let me take it back to Mr. Anene. Now, Mr. Anene, for all intents and purposes, the president made this promise, and it's only fair that the president should keep his word, and consequently, this process has begun. The interest of the National Assembly is that, look, we want to ensure that our constituents are really do benefit from this. Is there anything wrong in that, really? Is there anything wrong in the members of the National Assembly saying, look, let's understand what this whole process is about. If necessary, let's make some recommendations.
Yeah, let me agitate the mind of Nigerians a bit. When Mr. President made that promise of generating that kind of amount of job, it is not this kind of job. It is demeaning. It is demeaning for Mr. President to promise this kind of ad hoc job. It's a casual job. That is not what we needed. Now, if you are staying in Maraba, for instance, if you are staying in Nyanya in Abuja, and you are employed to go and sweep streets in Maitama, how much are you going to spend on transportation every day to and fro? When you take out this amount, the 20,000 is gone. That is why I said it is needless, it is waste. If you are staying in Oworosaki in Lagos or staying in Ojoelagba in Lagos and you are employed to sweep streets in Ireland, how much are you going to spend in a month? At the end of the day, you will borrow money to pay for your transportation. It is ridiculous. That is my take on this. If they want to create job in the real sense of job creation, that is not the way to go. You don't just take up people to go and sweep streets and start paying them 20,000 naira in 3 months. That is 60,000 naira. At the end of the day, they borrow money to augment their transport fare. That is the whole thing about this. If Mr. President promised jobs, yes, there is a way to go about it. And it should be carried along. There should be a policy document. This is the expectation. This is how people will be recruited. You know, I don't want to go into names that are part of the steering committee because they are Nigerians. But look at the names that are part of the steering committee.
Just hang on, Mr.
Is it not for political patronage?
The thing is this, the National Assembly hasn't come to that conclusion, so these are your perspectives. But let me move on to Mr. Otemu. Now that the National Assembly has suspended this process and saying, look, we'd rather even speak to the substantive minister, so do they have the powers? Isn't the purpose now going to be defeated as a result of this back and forth and misunderstanding amongst themselves?
Well, in my view, I believe that the National Assembly and the Honorable Minister will at some point come to a roundtable and discuss this matter in a more harmonious way to see how they can go on with this project, because the project is very important. One, when Anene was talking about somebody living in Yanyan and going to Mitama to do the work and transport fare, the government is employing people from every local government. And in every local government, you have 1,000 persons, which means every community will be represented. Now, you will not be taken from your community to another community to go and work. So you are not even paying a dime for transportation. So that whole 60,000 goes to you to enable you to do business. So because I think Nigeria, some persons are getting this whole program wrong. You are not employing somebody from one local government and sending to another local government. You are not employing somebody from one community and sending to another community to go and work. There will be no transportation here. You will work within the environment, within a place where it's trackable. And that's just the gospel truth. And so now coming back to whether the National Assembly has the power to suspend the work. Well, I feel the only person who has the sole power to take decision with respect to this project is Mr. President. National Assembly's responsibility ought to come at a later time, not at this stage. It is at the stage of when the project has been executed or it's ongoing and something is wrong with it, they can call for investigation, but not at this point. What I feel, yes, I agree, the National Assembly ought to be carried along because they represent the people. They are representatives of the people, no doubt. And so their interest, because this is all about political interest, their political interest is also at stake here. So if they are talking about we should be accommodated, I will agree with them 100% that National Assembly members should be accommodated so that they too cannot be seen to have gone to Abuja to relax. Let them also be seen that they have also empowered people within their communities for their political relevance, for their political life. All right. To that extent, I agree. Okay, but to say they have the capacity to say the project should stop, I do not agree.
In other words, I mean, who knows, probably a political solution might be the way they'll sort this out amongst themselves at the end of the day. But Mr. Nene, yes, let me bring you in on this. In addition to your response, if you have any, from what Mr. Otemu has said, in the interest of Nigerians who perhaps may not get the true picture and everybody else who's watching to allay their minds and ensure that, look, there's no such underhand or corrupt tendencies or practices or intentions, I say, why shouldn't the National Assembly, moving forward, conduct whatever other proceedings they have about this matter with whomsoever in public, in the full glare of the cameras?
Yeah, let me also react to what he said. I carefully use Nyanya as example in Abuja here. Nyanya is in Amak, Abuja Municipal Area Council. You don't expect somebody staying in Maitama to come and be sweeping street for you. You get somebody from Nyanya to do it. I'm from Onsuka local government in Enugu State. You have border committees like Okuje, Okutu, Ibagwane, Alone, and so on and so forth. For you to transport yourself from this border community, from this hinterland to Onsuka local government headquarters, you must spend more than 500 naira on daily basis. And I expect you to be paid 20,000 naira at the end of the day. Is it not waste? How much are you going to save from this stipend that you use at the end of the exercise to help yourself? It's just money for the boys. They just want to siphon this money. It's corruption. It's waste. It's inefficiency. It's working in the street. Let us call it the way it is. Now, the whole thing about whether the National Assembly can stop it, even Festus Keyamo said nobody, a minister, that is a junior minister, said nobody can stop him except Mr. President. That is wrong. That's an insult to our constitution. Our elected representative, those who are representing us at the National Assembly, elected like Mr. President, and somebody who is given an appointment, a junior minister, who said nobody will stop him except Mr. President. These are the people that have the power of appropriation. If they refuse to appropriate 1 kobo to it, the whole thing will fizzle out. And that is, this thing should sink into his ear. He said, nobody can stop me except Mr. President. The Nationals, I want to tell Nigerians, I want to put it to him that the National Assembly can stop the entire project and nothing will happen. But the only thing is that this National Assembly is beggarly. They are just naive. I'm very, very sorry to say this. Because of the way they
could you respond to the question then? Should they then conduct the proceedings in public?
You see, like I said, go and read section 60.
That notwithstanding,
they can conduct it in secret. It is
that notwithstanding, the question is, in the interest of transparency,
they have the power.
Yes, that may be the case, as your colleague may have agreed with you, but in the interest of transparency, shouldn't they conduct it in public? After all, they all say nobody has anything to hide.
That's the point.
In the interest of transparency, Festus Keyamo should tell us how he came about that steering committee. What was the criteria
That's not the question.
Should the National Assembly, the joint committee, from this project?
That's not the question. Should the joint committee conduct it in public then?
I didn't get your question.
The question is, in the interest of the public, all of those sections notwithstanding, shouldn't they then conduct the sittings in public since they all say nobody has anything to hide?
You see, the Nigerians are funny. I don't understand this. You keep on jettisoning our constitution to please somebody. If that happens, what it means, and it is danger, it portends a grave danger to our democracy, that somebody will go to National Assembly and impose on them the way and manner they will conduct their proceedings. The makers of 1999 Constitution considered the morality and the interest of justice in it and said these people should be given power to determine their proceedings. It is the interest of justice that will implement our constitution to the letter. Nobody should go to National Assembly and begin to tell them how to conduct their proceedings.
Or
if they
in
did
private.
not conduct the proceedings,
Ms. Anene, you've not quite answered. Should it be conducted in public or private? But you know what? Let's round off with Mr. Otemo here, because there's been a lot of controversy also around the state committee. I mean, the people that make up members of a state committee. Was there any, underhand dealings in that area? What does the act of the NDE say regarding that, for example, that gives backing to the constitution of a committee?
Thank you very much, my brother. Section 16 of the NDE Act, Section 16 sub 1 of the NDE Act, gives the minister the sole power, the sole power to appoint such committees, special committees of these nations, the sole power to appoint them is given by the Constitution, by the Act, by the NDE Act, to appoint. And nobody can question that power. He has a discretion. So how he exercises that discretion is entirely within his purview to do. So for him to say he has to consult this, no.
I didn't say anybody should consult anybody. I said the criteria he used.
So whatever criteria he used is within his personal discretion. Nobody can question it. It is the minister's discretion to appoint by virtue of Section 16 sub 1. And then he said National Assembly are beggarly. I don't agree with that position that National Assembly members are beggarly. That they disagree with the minister on how the project will go does not make the National Assembly members beggarly also. They also have a position to say they have their interest to be protected. They are politicians.
We need to anchor at that point.
All over the world, even in America,
thank you
everybody
both.
protests its
Ohenovo
interest.
Temu and Emmanuel Anene, legal practitioners. Thank you, gentlemen, for talking to us today. We're back in a moment on the show. Join us again.